Thank you for staying with us. For more than 10 years, Nigerians have continued to suffer from the brutal activities of Islamic terrorists, herdsmen, and bandits. The activities of these criminals have led to an increase in food insecurity and destruction of lives and property, and a downturn in foreign investment. As the operation of terrorism financiers are exposed, security experts have called for stricter sanctions on these criminals to curb their operation. It was further added that Nigeria should swiftly prosecute terror financiers and suspects and disrupt the funding sources of terrorists, bandits, and kidnappers to improve the economy of the country. Joining us via Zoom from Abuja is Executive Director, Emergency and Risk Alert, Security Expert, Gbenro, Olajuyigbe. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Now, the government has released names of persons said to be terrorism financiers, and this matter has been generating reaction across the board. We saw, if you look at the papers this morning, or even on social media, we saw Sheikh Gumi saying that security agencies have no right to declare anyone a terrorism sponsor. But first, what do you make of this move by this administration to name these persons? Because recall that the past administration in 2021, I recall, when the UAE made some arrests of some persons and also talked about a list of names. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, but faintly.
Okay. I'll repeat my question. I said that
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me now?
But let me just assume that I heard your question. And that question was that my opinion about this administration on the revelation, at least of the names of those who are financing terrorism. Well, I think this administration is now a hinge above a Buhari administration who embark on making the naming of these people opaque and, of course, contributing to making them to evade justice. I hope that this administration will equally go better, do better, in the sense that, look, financing terrorism is the most critical contributor to the success of terrorist group. As long as they are able to get funds, they will continue to succeed. Therefore, what this administration has done, one, it has started the process of tampering with their strategy. Secondly, disrupting their program, and of course, have potential to exterminate the executions of their plan because of financing. So it is a critical aspect of fighting terrorism. But then it will amount to nothing if we don't go further. When you have opportunity to have the names of those that are fighting, that are funding terrorism, whether individually or as corporate body, in terms of the bureau de change that were named to, what you should now begin to do is a very deep, in-depth investigation, so that what you are just gotten is the root. We want to know the branch, and of course we want to see the branches that has come out of that root. That is, those that have engaged in businesses, interaction, particularly monetary exchange with those that you have made in the past. All of them must be investigated. Of course, you have to investigate, look at the type of business transaction that has gone on. Where I'm saying this is this. When you are talking of money laundering, most money are gotten through illicit means. That is one characteristic of money laundering. Then they want it to, there is a process that they call laying. How they lay their money, and of course, integration of the money into real business so that it will be, the money will come as legitimate income, so that they remain invisible, they remain unprobable, and of course, they stand the chance of evading justice if they could pass through all the processes of money laundering. So that is important for the government to now provide these people, provide these business enterprises, that is the Bureau de Change, and of course see their financial interaction with other people. It could be legitimate when you see it, just like that. When you have a face value of it, it could be legitimate. But then if you probe further, you will find out that what they are doing is to make, to convert. They are going through the process of laying the money, of course, the process of integration of the money, so that the money will return to society as if it were to be a legitimate way of making money. That means that, let me give you a critical example. Do you know that this Bureau de Change may have even just, what do we call these people? Supermarket, assuming that is supermarket, that is giving it more than $100 million for change within few days. And if this happens, that supermarket should equally be indicted. It shouldn't be restricted to those Bureau de Change. The taproot is deadlier than just what we have seen. And we should not treat them in silo. That is why profiling these people is important. Though there is a time lag already, that is the time of the arrest of these people, particularly I know some of them were arrested under Buhari, but then the whole process was shrouded in mystery. Nobody knew what was going on. We didn't hear about their names, and of course, we didn't even know the extent of investigation the past administration had done. And whether the first thing to be done is to ensure that these people that you have listed, arrested, and you are investigating, so I believe, they have no access to any fund again that can be any fund in any Nigerian bank, or if they have alliance outside the country, Nigeria can avail itself the opportunity provided by the Anti-Terrorism Funding Convention of 1999, so as to liaise quickly with other countries where these people have engagement, so as to put embargoes on whatever fund that is, and that to tell them that Nigeria is investigating them for financing terrorism in Nigeria.
That's right.
Terrorism is a global, cruel crime. And so the moment Nigeria is able to do that, come under the 1999 Anti-Terrorism Finance Convention, and then activate our own anti-terrorism law in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So as to
Mr.
ensure
Olajuyigbe,
that they are properly investigated. They are not only this one alone, those that have dealing with them in the last few months or few years, depending on the time.
That's right.
Of course, their family members.
Mr. Olajuyigbe, can you hear me? Mr. Gbenro Olajuyigbe, can you hear me, sir?
Okay.
I'm afraid we're having
with his network. He's said a whole lot, especially with regards to this administration's effort to, name them, because that is what it is that the previous administration did not do, that a lot of Nigerians were talking about. But he also went further that beyond naming them, there are laws that we can, activate. That was his words, to addressing this matter as it is and as quickly as possible, because he talked about the matter of time lag.
That's right.
And it's important. He said he knows that some of them have already been taken to court or so, but there's a need to profile them as it is, not just get into the root, but also get into the branches. But how we go about that is also a major concern, because there are some Nigerians who have said that because the previous administration also talked about prominent Nigerians, and there are those who are concerned that these prominent Nigerians could also stand in the way of we getting to the branches.
All right, Mr. Adibero, can you hear me? Can you hear us now?
Network challenge again.
I think we're having network challenge. Mr. Olajuyigbe, can you hear me? I think we'll leave our team to to fix that. Yeah, just like you said, there's so many other names that I mentioned. I think the recent one that were released by this current administration are about 15. Some of them individuals, and others, about 5 of them below the change operators. So just like you said, these people can actually make use of these below the change, to get some money and then use them under the cover. Use these monies to, fund terrorism. And some part of this funding terrorism is to say that the international community or communities too are also complicit, because who make these guns? Who make these ammunitions to kill people? It's guns don't kill people, just like they say. It is people that actually kill people. So they make these guns. They create issues within other people's country.
So the guns are supposed to be meant for state actors.
Yeah.
But non-state actors have taken a hold.
Through the back door.
Yes. So that's why the matter of the infiltration of small arms and light weapons in the country.
Coming into the country. And there's some that are also locally fabricated.
Yes, like we saw happen in I think, Edo State recently. Delta State.
Yeah, there's Delta. There are other states as well.
Where we saw a factory where practically it was seeming like a family business also, but the security agencies were able to nab them and do the needful as it is. But we hear Mr. Olajuyigbe is back.
Mr. Olajuyigbe, can you hear us now?
Yes, it's better now.
Fantastic. Yeah, so part of the questions that Veronica asked you earlier is based on what Sheikh Gumi said, that it is not incumbent, it's not the right of the federal government to name terrorists or to mention, to declare anyone a terrorist financier, because this is also closely related to the fact that Tukur Mamu, who is his own age, media age, is also mentioned alongside some of these financiers, and he said the case for Tukur Mamu especially is in court already, and they should allow the court to pronounce whether he is a terrorist or not. What's your reaction to Sheikh Gumi's position?
Well, Sheikh Gumi has gradually become an institution that is untouchable in Nigeria. I really don't know why this is. I think the federal government should review the anti-terrorism law to ensure that Nigeria is able to get, to investigate anybody, whether covertly or expressly, or in any form promoting act of terrorism or supporting act of terrorism or speaking for them. That should be criminalized. Though there is need for criminalization of a lot of things in Nigeria if we are serious about fighting terrorism. Even though we have anti-terrorism act, it's not wide enough. Wide enough, that means that we did not ab initio understand the context, the contextual issues in terrorism. Is a very cruel crime. Crime against the state, against society, violent, vicious, and extremely so. So if we are able to expand our anti-terrorism law, that will take care of people like Gumi, who has been vociferous in terms of his support for this act, in terms of advocating for them or engagement of them or so.
No,
so
you're talking about Sheikh Gumi. What he actually advocated, according to him, and some of the things that he's saying, is to call for dialogue, saying that the federal government should dialogue, to have dialogue with these people. But he didn't support that they should pay ransom, and that, at least that's one of his latest.
When we define terrorism, there are certain things we don't talk of dialogue. In fact, there is global resistance to dialoguing with this thing. If we have to adopt international convention, there's no negotiation with terrorists. If we have to adopt international convention, we should adopt it. We can modify that. If we want to dialogue, well, Nigeria has its own way of doing things because the big people are involved. Let me tell you, most of this, the sponsor of this terrorism, if federal government is diligent in profiling these people, the bureau de change they are using, and the bureau de change that is actively supporting them, the businesses that are supporting them, you find out that some of them has laid and integrated their money into businesses like aviation, into businesses like oil and fuel and everything. So it's a very deep thing. Investigation should be thorough. And that is why you have to incorporate a lot of agency into our desire to frustrating, financing terrorism in Nigeria. It's an issue, for example, it's an issue for security formations in Nigeria in terms of gathering intelligence about them. It's an issue for military in Nigeria. It's an issue for judiciary in Nigeria. It's an issue for even businesses, incorporation of businesses in Nigeria and everything. So you have to include these critical stakeholders, bring them on board, and let us have, even if we have to moderate what is available, the 1999 Convention Against Funding Terrorism, if we have to moderate it in Nigeria and we want to include dialogue, what manner of dialogue? Who are we going to dialogue with? Those are issues. And we have to equally do diligent forensic analysis to ensure that even if such dialogue has to be introduced, what consequences is it going to have? Because if you continue and you start dialogue today with a set of terrorists, another will emerge tomorrow, and you continue to dialogue like that, then you get you have a society that has become citadel of a terror crime.
Right.
So we shouldn't put anything in silos.
Okay.
That is why I don't support what Rim Egumi has been advocating for years now. He should have been interrogated. I'm not saying that he should be arrested. Let him come and tell the public how this thing should be done, what intelligence he has about them, and how can he reach out to them, even if you want to make dialogue. So all those things should be incorporated, not that someone will sit in a particular place and begin to. All right.
Yes. Now, because of our time, we need to make judicious use of it. Earlier on, you mentioned the matter of time lag, and I'm wondering if it's a major concern for you, especially with the issue of compromise of influential persons, which is also a concern for a majority of Nigerians, into the effort of this government to dig into those who are really involved, especially the branches. If you think that because we have had this gap, because a lot of persons have been calling for swift prosecution of these persons, but we are not able to see that happen now. So is it a concern that there might be some level of interference into the process that the government has instituted or started now that we are seeing?
Yes, definitely, because one thing that is peculiar to anti-terrorism fight is that you have to surrender to the fact that time is of essence, because you are looking at a crime that if you don't checkmate on time, that is why it's necessary for Nigeria to have special squad, not only from police alone. Let it be national. It could be National Guard, but dedicated to investigation, gathering intelligence on act of terrorism. And then you have to have special courts that will try them. You can't put them through the normal process of in this Nigeria. And I have told us that we are looking at terrorists. We shouldn't look them at this thing. And I've said this several times too, that those that are kidnapping, asking for millions and billions of naira today, they are commercial arm of terrorist groups. They are the one raising funds in another way. Their funds could come from businesses, like I've said. It could come from this despicable act of kidnapping of people and asking for hundreds of millions of naira before they are set free. And of course, some of them has veered into act of harvesting organs of people that they kidnap and that cannot pay ransom, or even some of them that can pay ransom now. These are all attempts to raise funds, to raise money to fund terrorism in Nigeria. So we should not look at a terrorism as a single crime. It's a crime that has metamorphosed into a lot of departments, the commercial departments, which include the act of kidnappers. We are raising funds for terrorism and everything. So it's a very wide thing, and we have to be serious, and we have to be timely, and of course we have to be prompt, and we shouldn't predicate on how we are going to handle that. So
I'm glad you raised this matter of kidnapping as being how these terrorists also raise funds, because it's also something Sheikh Gumi alluded to, saying that Nigerians are not the one financing these people, but that because they get ransom, that is how they are financing this issue of terrorism. How do we also begin to look at these other areas that you have mentioned? Because there are those who have said that some banks are culpable and should be able to track these monies, but we are not seeing much of that.
The way we have not seen a lot about our banking system, where do you think people will collect ransom of hundreds of millions? That is why I'm saying that we should be vigilant as a nation, and our process should include how, look, when they collect this money, they know that it's not legitimate. Then they have a process of placing it in a way to the extent that they get it integrated into our money circulating system and make it legitimate. It could pass through supermarket. Of course, when you see supermarket, but there's a way of tracking and getting them. For example, if you see a supermarket that is making a daily return of 6 million before, and suddenly it has started making return of 120 million to the bank, depositing in the bank, bank should not say that we have a good customer. We want to know what has made it to be returning times 10 of what it did last week. So all this should be probed, and all EFCC, ICPC, other people who are in the process of investigating out of terrorism, particularly funding of terrorism, should engage, should come together, collaborate. That's why I'm saying that there is need to review our terrorism act in Nigeria, and there is need for us to incorporate all these emerging dynamics that were not contemplated when the act of when we are putting in place our anti-terrorism act. There's a new method they are using. Some could even go through gambling, manipulated gambling. They will just, in order to make the money legitimate. A terrorist can put his money in a lottery company, and then they will have arrangement. They will have a special machine for that terrorist. He will go there and play, and they say that they declare he has won 100 million naira in order to return the money he had initially deposited with the company there. So those are things that we should be thorough about, and not that we begin to look at an individual or a particular or specific bureau de change. Those are channels, and I'm telling you that it's a chain system. It's a chain system. No doubt about the kidnappers in Nigeria. Most of them are from terrorist groups. But then the funding is not only internal. You have external one.
Mr. Olajuyigbe.
That's why it's being funded from outside.
That's right. But then one thing that beats my imagination is the fact that we have these people, roaming, freely on Nigerian soil. Is it possible? Why is it easy for them or possible for them to be in places, although they refer to those places as ungoverned areas, but are we supposed to have places like ungoverned areas? And how much of commitment has the government or have the governments of different administration shown so far in stemming the tide of this, kidnapping, terrorism, etc.? Because just recently, just this morning, we're reading about 16 state governors, sending their own reports about state police, and 20 not saying anything.
You look, our act, we are actively committed to good governance in Nigeria, particularly issue of security that has become business. The governors are benefiting from the business, some of them, because they have used most of these so-called terrorists to run out their opposition so that they become governor.
Based on the way you see
it? No, I'm just saying it now. I'm not making mention of any specific governor. But that is correct. Haven't we seen how Boko Haram were used by a sheriff in Borno State. It's not my opinion. We have history to back it up. So government should understand this. Government should understand that after all, President Jonathan said that some terrorists were in his government then. And of course, he was correct and he was right. If you are embarking on corruption in this country, you are funding terrorism. Because corruption itself is a species of violence. I'm telling you, because you need bad boys to even help you hide the money, whether in bank or not, or wherever. So any act that is called corruption in Nigeria is an act that is contributing to the way Nigeria has become violent today. Of course, your contribution may not be that you are directly funding that. That means that you are taking what belongs to others, and others now are vulnerable to the extent they become a pool. They become pool. Throw them into pool where terrorists could be recruited because of your own act of corruption. People could not go to school. Many people are out of school. And what did they become in others? So it's not my own opinion. You have history, you have research, you have science, and of course to back them up.
Right, our time is up, but this is just a yes or no answer. Do you think this government will be able to get to the roots and the branches of this matter?
I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Right. So I think that President Tinubu should get his act together and know that he's in for a very long journey when he wants to get to the root of this matter.
We must thank you.
It's not a spin dash.
We must thank you, Security Expert, Executive Director, Emergency and Risk Alert, Gbenro Olajuyigbe, for your time on the program. Thank you.
It's a pleasure being with you. Right. Thank you.